laps in this, the Winfield ASC Sprint Car Series, the richest domestic motor racing series in the country. $440,000 total prize stakes up for grabs. Jack Hewitt from Ohio, USA will start from pole position. On the outside of him, Danville, Indiana, Danny Smith. George Tatnell inside second row, Brad Haywood outside second row, ahead of Brooke Tatnell and Rod Bowen, as the Kings with Wings now are dispatched over 30 laps in the Winfield Grand Final, and your early race leader is Jack Hewitt. He's under siege already from his fellow countryman Danny Smith as the two American hotshots run wheel to wheel down the back straightaway, and Jack Hewitt on the low line, desperately trying to fight off Danny Smith, who's relentless on the outside. Have a look at these two stars go as they rock and roll across the clay through turns 1 and 2. Danny Smith on the outside. Jack Hewitt looks to have his measure though on the early stages of the race, and Jack Hewitt settles down and consolidates now, keeping down fairly low on the racetrack. Hewitt and thumps the Chevrolet horsepower to the ground, leads Danny Smith. There's the rest of the cars now streaming off turn 4. Skip Jackson, the young 22-year-old from Sydney, is back a mile. So too's Max Dumsney, the reigning champion. He started from position 15 with it all to do. Jack Hewitt race leader now, thunders up the main straightaway, approaches turns 1 and 2. Rod Bowen well back in the pack in the black 75 car. He'll be up there, don't worry about that. George Tatnell now starting to press on. Brad Haywood back in third. But your early race leader, Jack Hewitt, doing it in sizzling style as he comes across the clay now, down the main straightaway once more. He leads his fellow countryman Danville's Danny Smith. Two super drivers, these guys, and you saw that in the opening encounter. But Jack Hewitt asserted that superiority, and obviously that genius as he goes down through turn 4 now and comes up the main straightaway once more. Jack Hewitt has won just about everything there is to win in world speedway racing. He's equally at home in sprint cars and midgets. Recently in the United States competed in 16 race meetings in 17 days, and that would reflect in this man's ability. Coming down the main straightaway now, Danny Smith about 10 car lengths behind, and Danny Smith is absolutely wringing that Chevy's neck, and he's desperately trying to make up for lost ground on the early race leader Jack Hewitt. In fact, Danny Smith driving so hard the front wheels are coming off the ground at regular intervals as he comes through turn 4 now. Danny Smith chasing Jack Hewitt, the two Americans up front, and doing a damn good job of it. Brad Haywood still holding on to third, the Sydney driver from Sylvania, ahead of George Tatnell, a veteran of sprint car and speed car racing. He's back in fourth. He'll be desperate to try and get up in this one, George Tatnell. And back in the field, Max Dumsney, who started from position 15, is starting to really come around the outside of so many cars at the rate of knots. Jack Hewitt, race leader, comes down and goes through turns 3 and 4 now, up the main straightaway once more. Hewitt doing a great job, as you'd expect him to. He really wants to win this one. That's George Tatnell in the Winfield number 15 car. He's now back in third position. He's gone past Brad Haywood, and you can see George working hard at the wheels. He throws the elbows around in the cockpit. Jack Hewitt now starting already to come up and lap slower cars as he approaches the back of that Caltech sprint car. George Tatnell back in third, number 15, red Winfield car. Jack Hewitt still having a problem with that 27 car. Now puts him in its right perspective and goes through on the inside. Jack Hewitt doing a good job, skates down low on the racetrack. I can't believe how quickly he started lapping slower cars, Hewitt. Danny Smith still there in second spot. There's about 20 laps left to run in this, the grand final of the Winfield Australian Sprint Car Series, and Danny Smith still in second. Jack Hewitt, the race leader, would need to be dead set, unlucky to lose it from here, but that's the nature of motorsport. Anything can happen, never all over till the checkered flag drops. Hewitt doing a fine job though as he comes up on the back of Gary Russ Jr. in the white 51 car. I can also see the yellow 68 car there of Atkins as Hewitt now approaches turns 3 and 4, and he now comes up on the inside of that yellow car and heads up the main straightaway once more. It was Bob Tunks, I'm sorry, in the yellow 54 car. Hewitt now points the race car onto the back straightaway, and there's the field streaming through turn 4. You saw Max Dumsney coming through there at the rate of knots. He's gone past about 8 cars, Dumsney. He's not that far off the pace. He'd be looking for a stoppage to help him gather this race leader in. Jack Hewitt now comes down underneath the Victorian driver David Anderson in the Wagga Mobile Cranes entry car 37, and Hewitt doing it with consummate ease. He goes through on the low line now, approaches the main straightaway once more, rockets up the straightaway, and now throws the race car into turns 1 and 2, going underneath the Lander Toyota entry of Robert Farr, and that's Danny Smith and the other Lander Toyota cars now back in third spot. Danny Smith as he settles down there and goes down the back straightaway fairly high up on the racetrack. You can see how hard he's working at the wheel, throws them left and right and hooks up through the corner, and now comes up the main straightaway. Got an awful lot of work to do though, because Jack Hewitt's bolted in this, the grand final. Jack Hewitt wants desperately to win this. He flew back from Florida this week, such was the importance of this race to him, and he's really doing it in top style going up the main straightaway. Danny Smith there, still sitting back in the field, and George Tatnell's all the time starting to move closer onto the back of Danny Smith, who's currently lying second on the racetrack. Jack Hewitt, race leader, sits about centre track. This racetrack a little bumpy on turns 3 and 4. No place for the faint-hearted, I can assure you. George Tatnall hasn't got a faint heart. He's driving as hard as he can through that corner. And so too is Max Dumsney, blasting through there. That's young Jamie Moyle from South Australia in the 69 car. They're all chasing this man, Jack Hewitt, who's really doing a sensational job. Keeps the blue car number 21 going through turns 1 and 2. Points it onto the back section of the circuit once more. Driving for S&D Motorsport, Jack Hewitt. And we can now see a titanic tussle developing between Danny Smith and also the Sydney veteran George Tatnall and the Winfield gambler. All the time starting to move closer, but it's really to no avail because the American Jack Hewitt has bolted. It's now opened up a substantial margin of about 1/2 a lap's lead, I guess. Bob Tunk's involved there with the dice with Danny Smith in the Lander Toyota car. Number 3, Danny Smith, still gets the front wheels off the ground. Jack Hewitt now starting to come up under a slower car, at least half a lap in advance of Danny Smith as Jack Hewitt goes down the back straightaway before about 12,000 screaming fanatical spectators. A packed house here tonight in Sydney at Parramatta Raceway, watching one of the world's best, America's Jackie Hewitt, absolutely street the opposition at the moment in that blue number 21 car. Danny Smith still fighting on gamely. George Tatnall won't give up either. Here comes Gorgeous now. Gorgeous George Tatnall down on the low line, trying to effect the pass with 10 laps to go in the grand final, the richest, most prestigious sprint car racing in the whole of the country. And it looks as though Jack Hewitt owns it. He started from pole position and he's driving away from this field. Jack Hewitt now approaches turns 3 and 4, staying down fairly low on the racetrack. Danny Smith is still there. George Tatnall's dropped off the pace somewhat, but he's still back in third. And Danny Smith in second, doing a good job. He's always running second, this guy. I think this is about his 9th second in a major event in a row. Can't crack it for a big one, but nonetheless a great driver and always superb value. Jackie Hewitt, though, he's going to win this one from here, I'd say. He's doing a super job. Goes through turns 1 and 2. Just went past Bill Barrows, the South Australian that you saw spectacularly win the second of races on the card. And Jack Hewitt now approaches turns 3 and 4. Comes up the main straightaway once more. There goes Max Dumsney around the outside of George Tatnall. Dumsney started from 15 and now moves up to third and is now going to start pressing the American Danny Smith. What a sensational driver Dumsney. Won the Australian sprint car title in Tasmania a few weeks ago. Here comes Dumsney. He rounds up Danny Smith on the outside and Dumsney now takes second. A superb effort from Dumsney, running up high on the racetrack. Has the John Sidney Valvoline sprinter working overtime. Look at Dumsney, drops the right rear wheel over the cushion. This guy's an absolute hero, Dumsney. Rockets around the outside, absolutely no fear in his pursuit of race leader Jack Hewitt. Oh, there's trouble. There's going to be a stoppage with 2 laps left to run. That's Max Dumsney's chance. Skip Jackson's gone around sideways very uncharacteristically in the number 11 Gambler, and as a result now a full race restart coming up. Oh, that's exactly what Max Dumsney was looking for. You've got to feel sorry for Jack Hewitt. He'd cleared out. What a sensational drive Max Dumsney for position 15 is now in second spot and definitely has a real hope of winning this grand final. Of course, he's already stitched up the series. He's second in succession. Here we go racing now with 2 laps to go. The crowd on their feet as Jack Hewitt leads the field going down the main straightaway. Race cars bicycling through turn 4. They're up the main straightaway. Here comes Dumsney. He rounds up Jack Hewitt on the outside, and Dumsney, to the delight of the large crowd, has gone to the lead in a sensational passing manoeuvre. Dumsney with 1 lap to go will win the grand final, I think. Jack Hewitt, though, fighting back on the inside. Oh, I've never seen a better motor race as Dumsney goes down the back section of the circuit for the last time. 2 circuits left to negotiate. Hewitt's still there, but Max Dumsney's going to win. A phenomenal performance from Max Dumsney as the fireworks erupt here. Dumsney victorious from Jack Hewitt and George Tatnall. What a race.